to welcome Di Zarkis. She's from Monash Graduate Education. She's come along, kindly agreed to come along. She's from the examinations team, and so there's some very specific questions that come up. We've got Di here. If there's some that can't be answered, then we can at least follow up later. Who is submitting their thesis this year? Or is planning to? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we've got some people, but this session is of course relevant to everyone who's doing a PhD, because even if you've just started or you're about to start, it's what you're ultimately working towards, and it's important to have an understanding of what criteria your thesis is going to be examined under. So this is just a sort of 10-slide presentation. We'll stop halfway because we've got an activity halfway with those handouts that have been going around. It'll be one between two. We'll do a short activity on those, and then we'll finish the presentation and have the panel discussion up the front. For the panel discussion, we've got two parts for that. So Long and Farhana are first going to provide a reflection on what their experience was like as recent PhD students who went through the examination process. Then we're going to hear from Graham, Hai and Jeff about their approaches towards examining theses. Okay, this is the structure. We'll stop at that halfway point, at number 3, where we look at examples of examination reports. So, finding out what's required of a Monash PhD thesis. The Monash Doctoral Handbook online has a lot of good information in it. Chapter 7 of that, and I'll provide the slides for this so you have the link. But Chapter 7 is a relevant one that covers the thesis and the examination process. And what I've done, I've just extracted some of the key information out of that. And this is some of the things it says, that the thesis should make a significant contribution to knowledge and understanding in the field. There are some other requirements. So it used to be a 100,000 word limit for a thesis, and it's now 80,000 words. But if you started before 2015, you're still in the 100,000 word limit requirement. And there's a number of other things there around hard copies need to be submitted for examination, templates available for some of the front matter of your thesis. The process of thesis examination can take some time, can take up to 4 to 6 months. So you do have 2 external examiners that are appointed based on their knowledge and standing in the field. You should not be contacting them during the examination process. I think that's quite an obvious one, but it's an important one. And they're generally given 8 weeks. So they've got 8 weeks to examine your thesis. If, for some reason, it drags on unnecessarily, Monash has the right to appoint a replacement examiner. That does happen. But obviously that can extend the time frame. And if you're required to make revisions after you receive your examiner reports, you have a month to do those revisions. And then if it has to go back to an examiner or both examiners, they get 3 weeks. So you can see how all these timeframes can potentially add up. And where you might have 2 examiners who have given completely different recommendations, and an adjudicator can be appointed in those cases to give more of an independent assessment on the outcome. So there are 5 possible recommendations. Obviously we all want a straight pass because that's no changes, and we certainly don't want to fail, but the reality of it is it generally lies in this area. So a pass with minor amendments or pass with major revisions is fairly common. Di, I don't know if you have any statistics on this, but is there any information on what sort of percentages we get across Monash?
No.
There's not? Okay, so we don't know what the percentage of fails might be?
Very small.
Very small. That's good.
I was once told it was 1%.
1%. Yeah. I've got
But there's a far higher share of people who don't get there.
Yes.
I don't know what that share is.
Something Monash does, which I think is quite a good additional thing, is that they ask examiners to comment on the merit of the thesis. And this isn't part of the examination process. It doesn't go towards the recommendation that you get, but it allows national benchmarking on thesis quality. And I believe it's done across a group of 8 universities, these merit indicators. So it's a bit of useful additional information that you get as a result of your examination process. In the forms that we'll look at shortly, you'll actually see those merit indicators on the forms. So it's probably a 1 between 2 exercise. We've got 3 examples of examination report forms. One for Monash, which is the most relevant, of course, but also one for Sydney and one for Western Australia. Now, if you can have a chat to the person next to you or find someone who's got these forms if you don't have them, we'd like you to spend about 5 minutes with the person next to you having a chat about what are the key similarities and key differences in these forms. So where does one university differ compared to the others, or where are they similar? So we can spend about 5 minutes and we'll do a report back.
Just if there's one. That's 3.